Who the even goes out anymore? That is a comment I got recently. And I'm not sure why, as a neurodiverse nightlife music content creator, that sometimes my content ends up with the unintended ears and eyes, but sometimes that's just how the world of the internet works, and we don't actually know what the person meant. I just don't usually respond to things that are subjective like that. Instead, we're going to talk about who actually goes out. Because when I see something like this, my brain, she's curious, could be, it's too expensive, which is so valid because ticket prices for events are just astronomical nowadays. Going out is almost a luxury. But also there's this narrative that when we get into our 30s and beyond, that nightlife is still looked at like it's something you just do when you're young. And one day we all sort of grow out of it. And that really interests me because there's this sort of element of shame to it. If you think about any other way of regulating self-expression, hobbies, painting, reading books, the gym, hiking, none of that comes under as much heat as you saying you like to go out, you like to dance. Nobody says, oh, yoga, you're 40 and do yoga, or you go hiking. But for some reason, dancing through your 30s and beyond has that sort of reaction. I've heard people describe it as cringe. If you've ever seen a street interview online and the question is, what age should you stop going to the club? It's always 30 plus. 35 and you're in the club is considered cringe. But why? Why are we all so serious? Why, as we get older, do we stop dancing? Why do we deny ourselves fun, freedom, and just a general good fucking time? And that two things can't be true at the same time. If someone still goes out, why can't you also be successful, have a great job that you love, be a parent? All right, I ain't a parent. I ain't got a clue, but you would need childcare. It makes it a lot harder, but I feel like there's this general thing in the air of, right, we're in our 30s, we all need to be serious, and I'm never going to go back to the rave again. I think it doesn't help because obviously nightlife, raves, events are all painted with the same brush of bits and booze and self-destructive behaviours or going there to forget. I think being undiagnosed, unknowingly self-medicating, naturally for me, the dance floor, movement, music, all of the good parts of nightlife got swept up in all of the bad, taking it too far. You get to a point where you're like, no, I'm never doing this again. Maybe it was just a long phase for me as well. But after taking a couple of years off of booze, becoming more intentional with the events that I booked and where I went, getting diagnosed with ADHD and reintegrating slowly after learning about how my brain works and how I do have a bit of an addictive personality. I look for dopamine, but I also realised it wasn't a phase and how in the right ways the dance floor can support my brain. All of that was mixed up with the other stuff and I needed to separate that. Moderation is the answer. Shock. It all felt like a bit of an epiphany moment because I was like, oh, it's not actually the dance floor. It's not music. It's not that I hate events. I'm just so burnt out with how I was treating it. I want to use it for all the best bits. This is my version of reading a book. And best believe I've tried to read so many books in my life. I have a pile of books, like a graveyard of them, where I just pick one up once a month, read 2 pages, forget that I have, then put it down, and then it never sees the light of day. I've tried every other hobby and I am just always led back to the dance floor. I don't even know if you can call that a hobby, but that's what I do in my spare time. My brain needs stimulation and ADHD brains hyperfixate on different things. Mine so happens to be music. So it was never just a phase for me. After taking that break, I could really see how this would last. I knew that it wasn't the end. As you go into your 30s, age becomes such a scary, obvious thing. Our priorities change, people's interests change. I don't know, like maybe this is just the societal image that we all need to sack off the dance floor, do a weekly sauna and steam, and pop out babies. Anyone doing anything different than that, there's this sort of passive aggressive energy. Oh, you went out. Oh, I don't remember the last time I went out. It must have been when I was like 23. We've all met these people. It's not right or wrong, but because people have this sort of, no, I'm not going out anymore. I need to lock in. I need to be serious, deny myself of fun and frolicking. Anyone that is doing that, it's sort of uncomfortable. If this is the path that you're on, you're in your 30s and 40s, 50s and beyond, you still love the dance floor. Don't worry about what anyone else is doing. I know that in your 30s, it can just seem so, oh, like, should I be doing this? Should I be doing that? My mate's doing this and they're getting married and there's kids and, oh. If you are a woman, by the way, age 25 and over, I have a women only rave group chat, which there are women in there of all ages, and this is the sort of thing that happened to them. They're in their 40s, all of their mates are having kids, getting married, they're not done with the dance floor, so don't ever feel like you're on your own, because as you get older, it just becomes so much more confronting and you do feel like, oh, am I the only one? But you're not, I promise you. The NEURODIVAS ain't done with the dance floor. Age comes into it massively. I've even felt it before at certain events. I've been the oldest there. I have felt the oldest there. I've found myself scanning the room being like, oh, I feel like my deep set wrinkles are just screaming, OAP. But it's normal. It's a way of life. Crowds grow up. Our crowd, our generation has grown up. All of a sudden, you go from being 24 and now we're in our 30s and we're like, oh, now the dance floor's ransacked with 24-year-olds. But you know what grounds me in those moments is thinking about the reason that we're all there, and that is the music. Not to be all like, oh, the music, like, shut up. But genuinely, get over yourself for a sec. You're really not gonna dance and have fun and be at an event that you genuinely want to be at because you feel a bit old. No one even knows your age there. You don't have to tell anyone. No one's gonna ask you, but that's what grounds me. That's what brings me back to earth. And I'm like, oh yeah, like, of course, it doesn't matter. The amount of times you hear people say, you shouldn't be in the club in your 30s. Why? What do you want us to be doing instead? I don't care if people don't like it. What interests me the most is why dancing, why movement, music, nightlife is treated differently from everything else. Imagine if we gave that reaction to people who said, I don't know, they've been in the same job for 10 years. Oh, you're still in that job? I don't know why for nightlife it's acceptable to sort of project that shame. Doesn't enter our minds, probably because we're too busy scrolling RA anyway. But we are obsessed with age, and it does make sense because it is scary. But surely that is the point. We're lucky to be here for the limited time that we are, not to get all morbid up in this bitch. But that's even more reason to spend as much time having fun, shaking as much arse as physically possible. In theory, if we are going to be obsessed with age, we have less time on this earth than 24-year-olds do. So why on earth are we giving it up so early? Make room for us, darlings, because we ain't going anywhere. But whenever I find myself like, oh, I don't know whether to go to this event, the crowd, you just know is going to be a bit younger, I check in with myself. If I genuinely want to go, I do two things. The first, I fast forward to when I'm 75 and I ask her what she would have wanted 31-year-old, hot, able-bodied and healthy me to do. What do you think the answer is? The answer is always, get out that door. The second thing I do is remind myself that I physically wasn't able to dance for over a year because of my health. I couldn't get out of bed. I missed it so much. Life is too short and too precious not to do the things that make your soul happy. One day, out of nowhere, you might not be able to. That's not to scare you or to be all negative and that. When you're healthy, you don't think about being unwell or not able to do these things. You just do it. You don't give it a second thought. One day I was well, the next day I was done for over a year. Like, you couldn't have even, you can't even comprehend that until it happens to you. If you're healthy, movement is so important in your adult life, no matter how you're getting it. Dancing, running, swinging your tits, whatever it is, there is nothing better than pairing it with music, especially if you have ADHD. You'll know that dopamine rush, the power it has to change our entire mood. No one is too old to experience that. I fucking love it when I see older people in the dance expressing themselves. It's not even inspiring because I think that that is patronising as shit. They're just living as they should. But because of all the connotations with nightlife, the bits and the booze, there is this unseriousness. It's a place where we do forget, we can feel free, we forget that seriousness of life for a bit. But for some reason, as you get older, you are expected to just grow out of it. There's this unspoken thing of you all just stop. I'm not sure it can be viewed in a way that it could be any more. It's like when, you know, I've heard this so many times from DJs and producers, when they're asked what they do as a job. Some people don't know how to respond because how can it be a real job? How can you be making a living from that? You just go to parties all the time. But they do. It's a job. Some of the best DJs and producers of the world, like Christ, Jeff Mills is in his 60s. I think it's easier to move through the ages if you make music your job in some way. Now 30s, we're all just meant to suddenly do something serious and have our shit together. Everyone's just sort of expected to move with the status quo. Don't worry about what anyone else is doing. There's always going to be a sense of disapproval somewhere from someone. There's no rule book. There's no guide. All there is the age-old societal image of now we get married, now we have babies, now we get a house, we lock in on our career. That's just made up. So who is going out? Apparently still loads of us. The people who still want to discover music, who need movement to regulate, the people who want community, the women who want to stay child-free, the people who need a release after their week at work. We're all going out for all sorts of reasons when we can afford it anyway. Because getting older doesn't mean shrinking yourself, denying yourself of freedom and fun. I don't know how long I'll be lucky enough to dance, hopefully well into my 50s or 80 if my disco back ain't given out by then. But we all know there will be one last time. After not being able to dance because of my health, I've realised I'd rather leave the dance floor because I genuinely don't want to be there rather than giving it up because someone's decided that I'm too old to be there. You're only as young as you are now, this hot, able-bodied and healthy, so get out there and shake a cheek. Alright, I'll see ya next week for episode 9.